Welcome to Under the Hood, your fortnightly insight and recap into accounting's leading topics and practical insights. Brought to you by Accountants Daily.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Under the Hood brought to you by Accountants Daily. We are coming to you on a Thursday this week as it has been incredibly busy here in the newsroom. We've been busy out on the ground as well, and I know a lot of you have also been at various events and conferences, which is keeping you all very busy and keeping our bulletins very full, which is fantastic. As always, my name is Imogen and Wilson, and for today's Under the Hood episode, I thought we would do something a little bit fun and fresh and talk about the other side of Accountants Daily, the dark side, if you will. Just kidding, but obviously we are going to chat today about our other brand, Accounting Times, which does kind of go under the radar, especially on the podcast. I'm sorry about that, but we will chat about it today. And joining me on the pod is the yin to my yang, my accounting news bestie, partner in crime and colleague, Accounting Times journalist Emma Partis. Emma, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the studio. Welcome to the other side. How are you?
Good, thanks. So excited to be here today. It feels weird to be in the studio for once, but yeah, no, super excited to be finally part of the iconic Accountants Daily Under the Hood podcast.
It is finally Emma's time, and it's so nice to have you. I kept looking at her. We sit next to each other, so we talk all day, every day. I kept looking at her thinking, it's almost your time, and now the time is here. And so for everyone tuning in, we have Emma here to give us a little bit of an insight into herself, what Accounting Times is all about, and of course, some interesting news stories, perspectives, and developments she has been seeing in that broader accounting space. But before we do that, it would not be an Under the Hood episode without Emma giving us a bit of an insight into who you are, your career, and how you got to where you are today.
Perfect. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Emma. I write for Accounting Times. So all the avid Accounting Times readers might recognize my byline. It's my journey into journalism has been a little bit of a convoluted one, but I studied economics and psychology at university, wrote a little bit for my student newspaper, and really, I guess, discovered a passion for writing about people's stories. And yeah, I guess that just led me where I am today, writing about accounting and tax policy and all that good stuff.
Who would have thought that you'd end up on Accounting Times? Now, the $1 million question, and something that I hear quite a lot and get asked quite a lot, and you probably do as well, but give us a little bit of a breakdown into how Accounting Times and Accountants Daily differs. You know, what is the crossover there? What are the differences? And why are there two?
Yeah, true. Huge question. So obviously, you know, there's a lot of overlap between the two brands, but the way I kind of conceptualize it is AT sort of takes on those broader issues, like it's more aimed towards like larger firms who may have a more international focus and it's more corporate accountants. So obviously we cover themes that AD might not, such as tariffs, all those trade developments, international things. And yeah, it's just like this year we've been delving more into the economic side because obviously it's an area of passion for me as somebody who studied economics. But yeah, just taking a more like top-down view of the issues happening in the accounting world.
Absolutely. And so since Emma has taken on the brand about 8 to 9 months ago and taking that bit of an economic lens on it, we have been getting heaps of engagement on that platform and heaps of comments as well, which is what we love. Definitely flood the comment section because we'd love to hear everyone's opinions and perspectives. But with that time you've had on there, Em, what is the recurring theme that you're seeing come through within the news?
There's definitely a lot of recurring themes. AI is a huge one. I mean, I know we write across both brands a lot about AI, but there's a lot of chatter about AI. Like the RBA has been talking about it. Firms have been talking about it. It just seems like it's this seismic shift. And some people sort of say it might be a little bit of a bubble, but like in talks with like industry members, it seems like it is shaping like material decisions such as like recruitment strategies. There seems to be like a focus on hiring more towards tech-centric roles. And it could shape, you know, the future of accounting. So obviously that's a pretty huge area across not just accounting, but lots of different industries. Obviously lately tax reform has been a huge topic across both brands. We've looked into a lot of interesting ideas that are being put forward by different industry bodies and groups. the ones that come to mind, Div 296 super tax. We love a bit of controversy. So we've been writing a lot about that one. There's been a lot of interesting perspectives shared on that. Some new ones, including the net cash flow tax, have been subject to a bit of debate.
Another controversial one that we see quite a few differing opinions on.
Yeah, so I just find it really interesting just to delve into all the different arguments for these because I think a lot of the time people, like, there's a lot of agreement on the problems we're facing in Australia, such as, like, the lack of productivity growth, I guess intergenerational inequality, but there's, like, a lot of disagreement in terms of how we're actually going to solve those problems. So it's just, great to hear some expert and industry perspectives on those issues.
Definitely. I also find really interesting, we hear so many perspectives and opinions and we write about so many differing perspectives and opinions. But when people come forward with a new one, the info and the stuff that they have to back it up is always so solid. And so everyone is coming forward with all of these ideas and examples to back it up, that it's kind of like, I understand why it is so hard and so controversial, because everyone has a foot in the game. Everyone has, a perspective that is valid. So no wonder this is such a sticky subject. Are you seeing that with people you're talking to as well?
No, it's huge. And a lot of what I'm hearing from a lot of, I guess, tax experts and a lot of the professional bodies is they're in areas such as tax reform, for example, which has had a lot of chatter. They are looking for more like holistic reform. They want bold change. They want a lot of things changed at once because, as people have told me, the tax system is kind of like this big jigsaw puzzle. All the pieces need to fit together properly. And if you change one piece, suddenly the pieces may not fit the way you like. Also with tax change, there's always going to be winners and losers. So the losers can be quite vocal when, say, a policy is going to disadvantage them or members of their group. So, obviously there's, a lot of differing opinions on how to tackle these economic issues we're facing.
Definitely. And so with these themes that we're talking about, obviously we have a little bit of crossover with AD and AT, and sometimes we'll share stories across both if they are affecting, our small businesses that we talk about on Accountants Daily and our sole practitioners, as well as those big four and, accountants within public practice, things like that. But are there any themes you're seeing that everyone needs to be across that they might not be capturing on Accountants Daily that they should tune into AT for?
True, that's a good question. So I guess on Accounting Times, we like to give more of that broad economic overview. So we touch on, economic data. Obviously, both brands do like interest rate changes, but if you want to stay a little bit more up to date on some smaller economic data flows, like Accounting Times might be a good place to check for that. We do a lot on AML CTF as well. That's been like kind of an emerging issue that we've been discussing a lot on Accounting Times, a little bit on Accountants Daily as well, though, I think. And just, discussions concerning the more political side of things, because obviously, like, political discussions flow into policy decisions which affect, accountants, tax practitioners in the end.
As much as people don't like that.
Yeah, sometimes. As much as people like
that is something we hear quite a lot is obviously if we are sharing a political opinion, sometimes people obviously can come forward and say we don't like that or we don't agree, which is great. But like Emma said, this is what obviously influences our policy because they have skin in the game. So if they're talking about it, then we need to talk about it too.
Yeah, particularly we've definitely got some comments when we say, for example, platform the Greens, where people are a little bit skeptical of the policies. But it's just important to remember that they do hold a balance of power in the Senate. So for policies like include the Div 296 super tax, they do have skin in the game. So it is like valid to be platforming those opinions because they do shape policy. So, but also valid to I guess comment on those opinions as well and share your corrections and your opinions on that. So it's all I guess about open discourse and sharing all of the different opinions in the tax reform world.
Yeah, and adding to the ongoing conversation, because what I find within this space is there is news every single day. There is stuff happening left, right, centre, all the time. So when we are hearing from people like that and saying, we don't like this, but we don't like this, or we love this, it's really great for us because we get a range of everyone's scope and we get to cover all of these different opinions to then hopefully make a change and hopefully drive forward this, tax reform that we're talking about or, platforming people's opinions who are actually within the accounting space that say, actually, maybe these policies or maybe these ideas won't benefit us. So it is really, really, really interesting. Now, with being a journalist, Emma, it is one of those things as well within a niche area, I find, that you enjoy covering certain topics within this space and then maybe not enjoying topics as much, which is quite interesting because, you know, to the outside person or to a journalist that isn't niched like us, they may think that accounting is just the topic. But we cover so many different topics within this niche accounting space. So what's your favourite and what's your least favourite?
Ooh, a spicy question. I always find the more like geopolitical stories quite interesting. Like, for example, with the tariffs, that sort of led to this fragmentation into the world trade order. It seems quite historic. So I always find that sort of stuff quite interesting. International tax systems, kind of something I hadn't thought about before, but I've really enjoyed learning about some of the different frameworks that I guess countries use to combat like stuff like base erosion, profit shifting, and just ensuring companies are paying their fair share of tax around the world. So yeah, I quite enjoy that. Least favorite aspects. Trying to think, nothing really comes to mind immediately, but some of the trust taxation stuff I've found very complicated to learn. So there's definitely been a few stories where I've been staring at like, I guess a, you know, policy document or people are sort of talking about it. And I'm just like, I have no idea like what section 99B is, like what is going on here. So yeah, that's definitely, I mean, it's interesting once you get your head around it, but it's definitely been a big learning curve trying to like wrap my head around tax law and all those intricacies. So yeah, that's been a challenge.
And what about your contact book? What kind of contacts are you leaning towards within your stories? Like, are you searching for any perspectives or opinions all the time? Or are you, leaning on certain contacts, or are you finding you getting differing opinions all the time for different stories?
Obviously there's a range of opinions on every issue. I personally find myself leaning towards like academia. I don't know, I feel like just I like talking to people who are quite passionate about what they do. So, speaking to lawyers, economists, people who like do a lot of research in that space, I find quite interesting. But yeah, it's really just like a broad variety of people. Like the industry bodies are great. And also going forward, I'd really love to, be able to chat to people about the individual stories. I guess individual challenges they're facing in the industry. Like not too long ago, I wrote this story about an auditor who'd been trying to break into to get his RCA for like 2 years, and he was saying that there was some regulatory issues that were holding him back. So it was quite interesting just to delve in his personal story and like air those grievances and sort of see how it tied into broader reform objectives. Obviously, like ASIC, for example, is trying to reduce the regulatory burden. I guess part of the broader productivity agenda. So yeah, it's just interesting to see how like people's individual stories really fit into this broader system.
Are there any themes that you are seeing that you're waiting for are there any themes that you are seeing or waiting for to develop further? Because obviously we're talking about tax reform, which we know is maybe not moving off the ground anytime soon or anytime in the near or far future, unfortunately. So obviously we're talking about lots of Div 296 tax, for example. What are you waiting for to develop? Like, are you keen to see something else develop within these spaces?
100%. Yeah, there's obviously accountants have gone through a lot of regulatory changes lately, whether that be the mandatory climate reporting, which is mainly for larger entities, but it'll have some flow-on effects for smaller firms as well in those supply chains. So I think the first reports for mandatory climate disclosures are due in December. So definitely waiting, keeping my eye on that and quite keen to cover those when they do come out. Also the new anti-money laundering counter-terrorism financing rules, which take place from mid-next year. I'm quite, keen to see how that area develops because obviously it's kind of in the preparation stage right now. Like the accounting firms who will be affected may or may not be aware of it, but definitely by mid-next year, they're going to be covered by the legislation. So there will be definitely some stories to cover there, I think.
Of course. Like I said, this news in this space, it's constantly evolving. There's constantly new things around. Now, just before you mentioned untapped contacts that you are looking to go into, what about untapped stories? Is there anything that you are brewing in the back of your mind that you want to report on, or any ideas that you have that might be something new and fresh to this space?
That's a good question. I've always had quite an interest in like the climate space and the way it interacts with business, and obviously with the mandatory climate disclosures coming up, I'd be, just quite keen to see how accountants are adapting to that space. Like I spoke to an accounting academic who specializes in climate risk analysis.
Wow.
And she was super interesting. She sort of like was posing this issue of how a lot of industry climate models don't actually align with the science, because obviously, businesses are feeling this pressure to have this very detailed climate information and the risks that are, each of their assets are facing, but scientifically, we don't actually have the capacity to, quantify those risks at the asset level at a much broader, scale. It'll just be interesting to see how businesses can adapt these models and if they will actually align with the science in the end, which hopefully they will, but we'll see.
Now, not to put you on the spot, but I've got a bit of a journalism question for you rather than accounting specific. And like we said, we get so many quotes, we talk to so many people, we see so many opinions and perspectives. Do you have any favourite quotes that have come out of your stories, or a quote that hits the best every single time? Or maybe one that you're enjoying at the moment?
Like a single quote? There are definitely quotes that I'll use in a few stories. The one that jumps out to me right now for some reason, I don't know why. I remember when the tariffs were first being sort of implemented, there was a lot of debate, and this was right before the election. So obviously Albanese and Dutton were being quite diplomatic about the tariff situation and trying to preserve the relationship with the US and not say anything too out of line. And then you have Malcolm Turnbull, who's kind of just saying whatever he wants and having some very honest economic commentary about Trump's tariff policy. And I don't remember the quote word for word, but he was basically just saying that the tariffs were based on economic nonsense, like a lack of understanding of things like comparative advantage, where he was viewing a trade deficit as a bad thing rather than just an economic feature of, normal trade. And he was basically just saying that Trump was a little bit economically illiterate and surrounded by people who were just being a bit yes men and not critiquing his reasoning. So I thought that was very funny at the time. A little controversial maybe, but...
No, I feel sorry for Emma because obviously, it's her and I on this accounting news journey together, and we sit next to each other, and obviously we're not specifically split to AD to AT, but that does kind of seem how it falls on the day-to-day basis. And I do not feel sorry for Emma when something new happens with the tariffs or in America that she is, going back and forth because it is changing so quickly. So she has been an absolute weapon on the keyboard there, going back and forth, picking up the phone, talking to so many different people. But the reason why I asked you that question, Emma, was because obviously we hear so many quotes, and I'm a little bit obsessed with a quote that at the moment that I heard on Monday. So on Monday night, we are Sydney based for anyone who doesn't know, but on Monday night I went to a Politics in the Pub event with Allegra Spender and economist Chris Richardson. And basically, of course, all federal members and all economists have their own differing opinions, and it is important to platform all of them. However, something that Chris said really struck a chord with me, especially within the space and everything we're talking about at the moment. And basically, he said with all of these different tax ideas that we are talking about, it was really, really, really important for everyone in this space to remember that we've been singing this song for a long time, and no one in this debate is evil, which I think is so powerful because obviously everyone gets quite blinded by their own personal or professional opinion. And sometimes it's really important to rip the kind of those rose-colored glasses off and realize that we're all in this together. We are all on one side. And even though that we have different ideas doesn't mean that we can get somewhere where everyone or, majority or some people are pleased with the result. So I think that was a really powerful quote that I heard. And I am chanting that this week. No one in this debate is evil. I love it. I think it's so good.
No, I think that's definitely a great mindset to have, because I do think there's a lot of common ground in terms of the issues we're facing. It's just the debate comes to how, I guess, the minutiae of how we're actually going to tackle those challenges in the practical sense. But I think there's probably a lot more common ground than we think there is between the two different sides. So it's great to see some constructive commentary in that area.
Absolutely. And speaking of constructive commentary or maybe constructive feedback/criticism, is there anything you want to say to our audience or anything you want to get out there if they want to contact you or have story ideas or anything you just kind of want to say to our audience?
Yeah, 100%. So obviously we do get a lot of comments on our articles from time to time, which I honestly love. I think it's great to see that people, are able to express their opinions on things. And it's obviously we have we're lucky because we've quite a specialized technical audience. So people are always providing very interesting perspective in the comments and also sending through columns. So yeah, I guess what I have to say on that is like keep commenting. My email's always open. Like I think, it's available on the website. So yeah, feel free if you have a pitch.
Emma.Partis@momentummedia.com.au if you are wondering.
That's the one. Yeah. So yeah, if you, have a pitch you'd like to send me, something that you'd like reported on, or you have a column or some like special insight on, theme we've been reporting on, maybe something that we haven't reported on, which you think we should. We are very, very open to feedback because obviously, we're for the accountants. Like this is for you guys. So yeah, we're
here to champion you.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously we're always very keen for constructive feedback and we welcome input and suggestions and pitches and all that good stuff. So, and we're both, I would say, quite approachable. So yeah, don't be afraid.
Yeah, guys, it's just us. It's, two little ladies cutting their teeth in the accounting news world, which has been so beneficial. Exactly. Speaking of, maybe my final question for you is what is the major thing or the most monumental or monumentous thing you have learnt within this space?
I guess it's just like the sheer complexity of the tax system is something that has,
Tell me about it.
Yeah,
Tell me about it.
I just I feel like every day, I feel like I'm learning something new and it's just, tax professionals have said to me that, it is a very complicated space. So it's it's just, coming from, I guess, a more broad economics background, it's just very interesting to see how just the sheer complexity of these rules and how little reforms can, set off, have all the interaction of the different provisions. So it's just, it's been a huge learning curve, but it's also been very interesting. So,
fantastic.
Huge. Yeah, what about you? What's going on in the Accountants Daily world?
The Accountants Daily world, yeah. So like I said, we don't specifically sit on AD and AT, but it is just how it happens sometimes. AD, I mean, I have been in this space for 18 months now, which has absolutely flown by. And at the moment, we're seeing a lot of things. At the moment, it is probably event and conference season, so everyone is here, there, everywhere, and, getting their CPD points, which is fantastic, listening to others, thought leadership. It's just such a great space for that. I really, really enjoy it for the thought leadership that comes through. What we're seeing a lot on AD at the moment, lots of TPB action. Now, obviously, that has been something that is always on the radar. However, we did speak to Peter DeCure on the podcast quite recently, and he said they are ramping up their action and looking into different things and making sure that everyone is compliant with the professional code of conduct. So this morning, we would have had a story come out with the TPB taking legal action against an unregistered tax preparer who was still delivering services, which is so yeah, we're seeing a lot of TPB stories at the moment. We're also seeing a lot of action from the tax ombudsman, Ruth Owen. She's obviously doing her investigations into gig at the moment, which we did talk about earlier this week on AD. We're also seeing a lot of conversation around family trusts. We've had a lot from Robin Jacobson on this, which has been just fantastic. And also coming up in October, which I know everyone is probably really excited about, is the decision on Bendel. Now, that is a topic that really, really tested me in obviously wrapping my head around Div 7A. As Joyce Ong would say, it is a loan. She's amazing, fantastic. So that really helped me. But yeah, so lots happening, lots coming up for the end of the year, lots of events. It's been awesome.
Huge, love it. And you went to Xerocon not too long ago. How is that?
Guys, Xerocon is nuts. Now, when people told me that it was the Coachella for accountants, I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I walked in, jaw on the ground. colours, lights, people, food, sausage sizzles, coffees, fantastic thought leadership, fantastic technology. I could not get over it. And we took our managing editor, Jerome, who is not on the podcast with us today, just Emma and I, but I did take Jerome with me to meet some of our contacts, meet some of the people we talk to all the time, and it was fantastic. So got to sit in on some really awesome sessions, got to chat to some of my, well-known accountants that I talk to who really help us in this space and really help me, write content for this space that is a little bit more tailored to our sole practitioners and our small businesses, which I'm in this space I'm really passionate about. So that was awesome. Got to spend time with some other podcast legends, Tim and Dan from Two Drunk Accountants. They were just amazing, so much fun, so lovely, and they will actually be doing a little bit of a collab with us soon. Woo. Also, I listened to a really fantastic chat with Matt Church, who really spoke about kind of the inner workings of your brain and your personality and how that kind of flowed into your small business. And I thought that was really powerful. And even though I'm not a small business owner, I talk to so many small business owners, so I can imagine they would all have gained a lot of value out of that. Also, there was a concert at 9 a.m. Dragon comes on the stage. I go into this massive hall and I think, wow, there are so many accountants in here. This is a dream. And I was thinking, new story. And then suddenly Dragon comes on at 9 a.m. Don't you go on in the rain.
Sounds overwhelming, but delightful.
I was sending videos back to Emma in the newsroom and she thought, oh my God.
What is going on? It's 9 a.m, guys.
And I said, you wish you were here.
I did. I was getting big FOMO for the 9 a.m. concert.
No, but it was hectic. There was a lot going on. I think everyone was quite tired by the end of it because there's so many people to talk to, so much fantastic content being shared, that it was one of those things where it's so awesome and then at the end you are completely exhausted. So that was a really cool.
Huge. Sounds like a huge whirlwind trip. Very exciting, great opportunities. And so I guess you've been here for around 18 months now, delving into the accounting world. Obviously there's a lot of interesting stuff happening. What have you personally found the most surprising through this journey through the accounting world?
Yeah, well, that's a great question because I feel like there's a lot of surprising things within this journey and a lot of things that I've learned as well. For one, that I, have found myself in this space. It was a great thing to have fallen into this little niche and something that I didn't know or didn't think that I needed, but I did. I have really loved it. I really loved the contacts. I've really loved meeting and talking to different people who have so much skin in the game, so much knowledge and so much passion. I think that's what I have learnt overall, is that this is a really tight-knit, passionate community of people who do such amazing work and such impactful work as well. Everything connects to accounting as well. That blows my mind. When I came into this space, I was thinking, oh my goodness, how could there be news every single day for this? But everything within our economy, everything in government, all of our businesses, everything is tied to accountants and what they do and what they provide for everyone in Australia and all over the world. So I think that has been the most amazing thing I have learnt. And also that these poor accountants are dealing with so much change and so much rapid change. Within the 18 months that I have been there, I have seen obviously Stephen Jones and the TASA changes and the uproar that caused. I have seen the PwC scandal. I have seen increased TPB action. I have seen AI and how quickly and rapidly that has changed from when I first started to what it is now. It has blown my mind, and do you know what? Couldn't be happier to be here and to be here in this podcast room once a week with some fantastic people. So it's a journey. It's an ongoing journey, up and down like anything, but overall it has been amazing with so much passion and so much impact.
Huge, yeah, definitely great time to be a journalist in accounting. There's so much going on, it's crazy.
We are now just, certified tax nerds as well.
When are we getting our CPA?
Or our CA, or our IPA.
Yeah.
Who knows? But Emma, thank you so much for jumping on AD Under the Hood episode today. It's been so nice having you and so nice to hear a little bit more about accounting times, and we'll have you back on to talk about more fun stuff on AT soon.
Of course, thank you so much. It's been great to be here.
For everyone tuning in, thank you so much for listening to this Under the Hood episode with Emma Partis. If you would like to contact Emma and learn more about what she does on Accounting Times, you can contact her at emma.partis@momentummedia.com.au. As always, if you would like to contact me, you can reach me at imogen.wilson imogen@momentummedia.com.au. Until next time, bye for now.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.